Hello Lima, brought to you by Good Food Restaurant, home of Happy Days, Beer Barrel, and Old City Prime. Also by Mercy Health Partners, 318 Restaurant and Bar, Lima Palette Company, and Fresh and Faded Hair Studio.
On December the 18th, the hearing and the debates the U.S. House voted on to impeach President Trump came down to 2 articles. Since it's only happened twice in U.S. history, there's still considerable confusion about what exactly presidential impeachment means, how the process works, and what effects it has had on the public. From Washington to Lima, we'll all be affected about the outcome, regardless of your political party. And with us, Lima's congressman will play a vital role in this proceeding. In Lima, we should be engaged. We're going to get some insight in this impeachment process with well-known OSU Lima historian Professor Dr. William Angel. We'll also hear from some local military personnel, Sergeant Gabe Brooks, in the battle in the Middle East and how it's going to affect us. But until then, welcome, Dr. Angel. It's always a pleasure having you, particularly with your perspective on topics that are wide-ranging. The impeachment, we're probably into maybe the 4th day of it, and it certainly has been impactful. You can't turn on a TV set without seeing it. And I don't want to get into it, and I'd like to pivot here a little bit and talk about something that I think is important, because every time I talked about the impeachment, as I talked to people and kind of got some feedback, it brought up it stirred emotions. Yeah. And it got me thinking, though, Dr. Angel, that as we kind of play this out, people are emotionally angry about the process. And with your history background and from a historic perspective, I'm going to put you on the spot and say, how did we get here? Well, how did you get to the point where, and just remember, Dr. Angel, yesterday somebody killed somebody in Florida as they were dialoguing about it. Yeah. So this stuff is, should we be concerned about where we're going?
Well, Alexander Hamilton was concerned about it.
That's right.
We'll go back that far. Federal 65, he talks about the passions and the factions that would develop in the event of impeachment. And interestingly enough, he says, that's why we give the Senate the responsibility to determine whether he stays or goes.
And if we talk about it, the House acted as a grand jury, and they kicked the trial over to the Senate for the trial. Yeah. That's the proceeding.
But the House is was the more popular branch. Okay, I regard the House as closer to the people, and therefore more likely to react in a more passionate way, as opposed to a dispassionate way, which is why they placed the trial in the Senate.
I follow you, Bill. So having said that, Dr. Angel, where's this going to lead us in terms of a community, particularly with Lima's congressman playing such a vital role in it? I mean, is this going to be something that we can have dialogue about?
Well, the larger point, I think, that Hamilton makes is that this is part of who we are.
The
process is part of who we are. Getting rid of a president, that is telling a president he can no longer be a president, is going to arouse public passion. Hamilton was aware of this. And if you look at at least the ones that I've lived through in my lifetime, Nixon, Clinton, and this one, they've all been the same. They've all aroused passionate debate with people taking sides, splitting up, and becoming angry with each other. It does result in anger. Hamilton was exactly right about it. Now he was, I think, a little more optimistic about the way the Senate would proceed, but I think he was onto something.
Well, and for purpose of clarity, Nixon was going to get impeached before he resigned. So technically,
there was never a trial for Nixon.
So
that's
technically,
correct.
We had 2, Johnson and Clinton. And between Johnson, I think there was 130 some odd years between Johnson's impeachment trial and between Clinton and today's hearings. It's only been 22 years. Yeah. Is this going to be the new norm?
Well, I think it's not the new norm. It is the norm. I mean, that was the point that Hamilton was making, is that this is deciding to say to a president, you no longer can be president, is going to arouse passion no matter what. In Johnson's case, 130 years ago, it was about, okay, who won the Civil War? The North or the South? And the president, Johnson, was behaving as a Southerner, trying to engage in policies that would essentially undo the achievements that had been won on the battlefield. And that aroused Republicans who were pushing the envelope on greater reforms that would expand the power of the slaves who had recently been freed. And Johnson was trying to do the exact opposite. And so they basically, it was kind of a put up deal in the sense they passed a law, which he eventually broke, and then they impeached him for it. And of course, he did escape impeachment by one vote.
By one vote in the Senate. That's what some of the research is. But let's go with the Clinton impeachment. Yeah. So Clinton had 2 articles, I think, against him: perjury and obstruction. Clinton, was that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So Clinton has 2 articles also: perjury and I think an abuse of power, or not, obstruction of justice and abuse of power. So if we look at this, Dr. Angel, as the no spin zone, is it a fair process?
It depends. I mean, I think people, it depends which side you're on.
Yes, it is partisan.
Taking the Clinton side of things, and we're going to do the Trump side here in a minute, I assume. Okay, and then taking the Clinton side of things, Clinton was being investigated since he was inaugurated by Kenneth Starr.
Yep.
There was a Whitewater investigation about a real estate deal the Clintons allegedly profited on, and that didn't turn up into things. So they ended up happening to get this information about Monica Lewinsky, and so it was seen as kind of a Republicans are trying to pay the Democrats back for Nixon. And it was seen in those terms.
That's right. But having said that, you could certainly take the position that this is something with Trump also that started from the time he came down the escalator stairs.
Absolutely.
And that's why I ask you, Dr. Angel, is this the new norm? In other words, if we get a president that we don't like, or we get a politician we don't like, we're going to go the impeachment route.
Well, you can also say it this way.
I'm listening.
We expect our presidents to behave in a normal way, with a certain sense of demeanor and presidentialness, if you will. And I think what really cooked Clinton's goose was that business with Monica Lewinsky. Presidents don't do that. They shouldn't do that. And I think it did arouse a certain visceral sense of this is not what a president should do. And it did essentially. This was like 1998 when this occurred. He still had 2 years left of his presidency. It essentially spelt the end of the Clinton
administration. Yeah. And at the end, and I know we got a break coming up on a break, but Dr. Angel, I want you to understand that this language that people are using is different. It keeps escalating. Yeah. So the Clinton language, I was around there, and it's different than the Trump language.
This is true.
So when I have a dialogue, and I had a quick one, I want to be quick here, when they said, oh, I'm talking to somebody real quick, and he's saying, oh no, Clinton's thing was not as bad as what this man did. And I could hear the anger in his voice. And I immediately stop the language. Yeah. So you're telling me that this is what the founding fathers expected? I'm saying not.
You don't think so? No, I think there was a sense that the founding fathers were not expecting average people to have a great role in the political process, which they have become, which has happened.
And they should.
With voting and vast movements and change that has occurred has basically occurred from the grassroots up. It hasn't occurred from the top down. So I think there has been this sense that we have ownership of the business. We have ownership of the enterprise. And I think people feel that if you voted for a person, a candidate, and the candidate became president, then you feel ownership and responsibility for that person, and so you're going to defend it.
That's exactly where I want to leave. We're going to take a break here and come back and talk about how this impeachment is affecting race and politics beyond.
From early in the morning when the Happy Days stores open, turn the grills on, get the coffee turned on. Across town, the beer barrels, there's a lot of prep work that has to be done. Sauces being prepped on the stove. At Old City Prime, everything's from scratch. I think the culture in our company is that we care about our people. And in return, our people care about our customers. Thank you so much to all of our team that's worked for us, and thank you so much to all the communities that we're in for being such great customers.
You are the center of a universe. That's what we've learned in 160 years serving our community. Everybody means the world to someone. So when you're in here, or if someday you find yourself in here, and when all you can think about is the world that revolves around you, we'll be a world that revolves around you too. Mercy Health. Healthcare for the universe of you.
We at Lima Pallet Company thank you, Lima. In 1977, we started a small family business, and today we continue to grow. Lima Pallet is a full-service pallet and crate provider. Every customer is unique, which is why we build pallets and crates to our customers' specific requirements. Because we have our own fleet of trucks, we're able to provide customers with on-time, same-day, and 24-hour emergency deliveries. Coming together is the beginning, keeping it together is progress, and working together is success. Let's continue to succeed.
Our audience certainly has been one that's been diverse as well as younger as the norm goes in terms of political audience and on the TV show, and we certainly appreciate the Hello Lima audience, and certainly we'd hope that you guys would join us in our new time at 11 a.m. starting on Sundays. But having said that, Bill, when we talk about our audience, one of the things we get feedback on our social media platform is questions, and we have a really good dialogue. There's really good understanding and respect for each other. You bring a good background. There's really not a position that you take one way or another, even though you've come up through the Democratic Party. But hearing something off in a commercial break you told me, and I think it's important. You have friends that voted for Trump. You have friends that voted in the Republican Party, and you guys, and I want the public to understand this, and particularly the Hello Lima audience, we can still agree to disagree. Yeah. You're doing that today with your friends.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's a matter of respect. That they have a right to an opinion, they have a right to take a position. I mean, the business is about ownership in the candidate. They have a right to do that. And so I respect that right, and I disagree with their decision, but it doesn't mean I want to sacrifice our friendship, our relationship out of that.
Over that.
And I think it's called community.
So and when we had this discussion though, Bill, and I want you to tell me and be honest with us and our viewers, and I'm getting it in the feedback, and you can't have politics without race. I don't care what anybody says. They're interwoven. Yeah. Follow me, Bill?
I agree.
From a guy who's been on the campaign trail, follow me? And every time you go to knock on that door, it's in the back of your mind for reasons that I don't want to get into here. But having said that, Bill, there's some talk about, they're just doing this to Trump because Obama was elected president, and now this is the big payback. And then everybody starts talking, everybody starts, the discourse becomes more heated. As this trial moves into its fifth and final day, and as it approaches, tomorrow it's going to be another heated debate in terms of where it's going to go. It's probably going to take 20 days. Communication going to get better, Bill, particularly for us in Lima?
I think the business of Obama is interesting.
Yes, it is.
Because it's actually Trump who brings it up.
Yes.
Trump is the one who's constantly comparing his presidency to the failures of the Obama administration.
Yes, but you see why the lines are taken.
I can see why those lines are taken.
Ownership.
Absolutely.
You said it.
Yeah.
Ownership in your candidate.
And so you got a certain segment of our community, white and black, has ownership of Obama. And whenever time he says something negative about Obama, that just causes eruptions to occur. Okay, I understand that. I get that, but I think at some point you have to understand that a person who takes the opposite point of view, maybe voted for Trump. Maybe they voted for Trump because they didn't like Obama. Maybe they voted for Trump because they thought that they didn't like Hillary Clinton. I mean, here you're bringing in the last two Democratic presidents, and so there may be personal reasons why they did this, but it doesn't mean that you can't have a relationship with people who disagree. On the issue.
And
that's my point.
And that's a good point, though, Dr. Angel. And we can say this, and I'm going to give you a little secret to the viewers out there. President Trump would not be acquitted. Don't have the numbers.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to, and you can agree with me, Dr. Angel, they don't have the numbers in the Senate to remove him from office. So when this sort of plays itself out, and Trump is going to come back and sit in the Oval Office, regardless of your political position, are we going to be able to get past that point to election?
There are people out there who say that by November this will be forgotten.
Okay.
I think they're wrong.
I do too, but I'm listening.
They're wrong. I think they're wrong because, I mean, for a president to be impeached is a real disgrace.
Yes, it is.
It's a real disgrace. The matter of the process, it's there.
Yes.
It's there. Donald J. Trump was the third president to be impeached.
Yes.
He's linked there with Johnson and Clinton, and now himself. So you find it's something you don't live down. And to think that the Democrats are not going to use this as a political issue, to think they're not going to be, whoever is the candidate is going to be talking about the dishonesty, the perfidy of this administration, and not going to talk about the Russians hacking.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not going to go away.
And Lima has, and you're right, Dr. Angel. Lima has a history of being very pro-political. Every president I can think of, Bill, at one time or another has come through Lima, and they're going to come through Lima again. And so I'm going to get to the point, particularly a Hello Lima community perspective. We like to make sure that the community understands, particularly Lima, and our congressmen, regardless of what your political position is, we can agree to disagree. This thing is going to, and I agree with you, Dr. Angel, it's not going to go away in November. Trump's going to be sitting in the Oval Office come the next couple of months as this election winds itself up into full steam. And I want Lima to feel like it can have discourse, it can have dialogue, and still respect each other.
Yeah. It's good for the community for the president to come here.
Yes.
It's good for the community for the president to come here. It shows that we're important. It shows that we're a central player in American politics, and so it's a good thing. And so you have to sort of, if you're on the opposite, which I am, the opposite party, you just kind of swallow hard and shrug and say, well, okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And because there's a larger good. There's a larger good. And I think that's the other part, the reason I love this country, is because there's always been many people among us who see the larger good and can work for that and kind of put the partisan differences aside to accomplish something better.
The office of the president's important.
Yeah.
And it should be respected as such, regardless of who's sitting in the Oval Office. Am I being too optimistic on that?
The presidency is an institution, yes. We can disagree. We can have our view of the individual who sits in the Oval Office, but I think we do have to respect the presidency itself, and that's an important element.
And Dr. Angel brings a good point, and I certainly want to make sure that the Hello Lima viewers kind of get a sense of what we're talking about here today. And Dr. Angel mentioned it. This is historical times. Regardless of the political position that you're in, it's historical times. It's only happened twice in American history. Johnson and Clinton. And at the end of the day, Dr. Angel, Lima, Hello Lima viewers, and particularly the viewers as a whole, need to be engaged about the process because it has outcomes. Yeah. As they say, the election has outcomes, and who sits in the Oval Office has outcomes. Yeah. We're going to have a staff sergeant on. They're going to have a sergeant on afterwards in a little bit here, and he's going to talk about how some of those outcomes have dire effects. Yeah. So when we go to sleep and the president decides to drop a bomb, follow me, Bill? Yeah. Somebody's going to have to wake up at some point in time and deal with those consequences. So I want Lima to be engaged.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
I mean, is your position one that always as this impeachment historical position takes itself,
I think
that we should get kind of just, it's part of the process?
I see this time we're going through, and I've told my students this, it's kind of an opportunity, if not a blessing, for us to go through it, understand the pain that this causes, understand the pain that this causes, understand the difficulties and the challenges that this place. This is why this doesn't happen it doesn't happen only 3 times. It's happened a lot recently, and that's a part of the reason we're having this discussion.
Yes, it is.
If you look at Nixon, we're talking Clinton, we're talking now Trump. Yeah. We're talking really about every generation now. Since 1974, we seem to be going through this process, and I'm not looking forward to 18 years from now having to go through it again.
In 20 seconds, Bill, are your students, are they having dialogue that's comfortable?
Yes. Yeah, we have dialogue. I talk with them. They know where my position is. And they should feel free to open their discussions.
Well,
I think a lot of them are just trying to make up their minds.
Good. It's good.
Where they are.
I think the world's going to be great with younger people. When we come back, we're going to hear from a sergeant and talk about how the war, killing the Soleimani, the general, is going to affect us going forward. So stay with us.
You are the center of a universe. That's what we've learned in 160 years serving our community. Everybody means the world to someone. So when you're in here, or if someday you find yourself in here, And when all you can think about is the world that revolves around you, we'll be a world that revolves around you too. Mercy Health. Healthcare for the universe of you.
From early in the morning when the Happy Days stores open, turn the grills on, get the coffee turned on. Across town, the beer barrels, there's a lot of prep work that has to be done. Sauces being prepped on the stove. At Old City Prime, everything's from scratch. I think the culture in our company is that we care about our people. And in return, our people care about our customers. Thank you so much to all of our team that's worked for us, and thank you so much to all the communities that we're in for being such great customers.
Our barbers and cosmetologists are licensed professionals who specialize in all phases of hair. Whether you are getting a line-up, cut, beard trim, or a design, our barbers will help create your unique style. With full-time cosmetologists, also taking appointments and walk-ins from lashes, presses, color, wax to braids, and weaves, Fresh and Faded Cosmetologists do it all. Call us for an appointment today. Fresh and Faded Unisex Hair Studio, the largest shop in Northwest Ohio. 419-221-FADE.
If you ain't fresh, you ain't faded.
Welcome back to Hello Lima. Been an interesting topic having Dr. Angel here and talk about from a historical perspective the impeachment. We're going to switch gears here very slowly because I think that the impeachment process is affected by in terms of where we go to war, how we go to war. We have with us Sergeant Brooks. Thank you for being here, Sergeant.
You're welcome.
And I'd like to start out with this, Sergeant. Reading a quote out of the Wall Street Journal, Sabian Iranian leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei promised harsh revenge for the killing of General Soleimani. You've been on the front lines.
I have.
You have been there, and I want people to understand when you talk about war, it is no place people need to be. And from a perspective, before you give us a little bit of background on where you, on the process of what you've been involved in, Sergeant, it's not a big populace that are fighting the war. 1% of the nation's population is involved in the military. Just 1%. And out of that 1%, follow me, very few people of them know people in the military. Very few people know people who have gone to the front lines. Tell us a little bit about your background and as we talk about this Iran-Iraq relationships and how you see it playing out.
Okay. I actually joined the military right after 9/11. Thought I'd be of greater service on the front line. So I went down to Fort Benning, Georgia. Went through infantry training, and then also I got stationed down at Fort Benning, Georgia. Mm-hmm. With graduating and all of that, I would say about 4 months later, we were already getting ready to go to war.
After 9/11? After 9/11.
And
you were in Iraq?
And I was in Iraq. So actually, when the plan was to go earlier, but things didn't pan out, so they allowed us to come back home for vacation for a little bit, mm-hmm. and then go back over there. So in March, with 3rd ID, 3rd Brigade, 115 Infantry, Bravo Company, we were one of the first ones to cross over the Iraqi-Kuwaiti border.
Is that right? And
That's
Sergeant,
correct.
I want to make sure that the public, particularly the viewing audience in the short time we have here, when you're fighting, and that's one of the things you did, and regardless of whether you're pro-Trump or whether or not your position is, presidents have a position that they put kids in, I call them young people in, every day. You don't have a choice of what you did and where you went, right?
Correct.
You were fighting for, and I think when I talked to you on the phone, a quick perspective, you weren't fighting for America. Tell me who you were fighting for.
They're our brothers right beside us.
I thought that was fascinating.
Yes. You sign up, wanting to fight for America and your family and all of that, and then when the bullets start to fly, it's not about anybody at home. It's about the man next to you and trying to get them back home.
And I think that's a perspective that I think people need to hear. It doesn't mean you're anti-patriotism.
Correct.
It doesn't mean you're anti-American. At the end of the day, Sarge, you're trying to get home to see your family.
Correct.
And has it been something that's been troubling you since you've been back?
Yes, did 3 tours. I'm disabled veteran. I've had a service dog, and I will be getting another one. Veterans coming back from war, it's not a normal thing. So for people to come back and act like it's easy to acclimate mm-hmm. With regular population or continue where you started off before you went to war, it's not going to happen.
And I think, Dr. Angel, as we talk to Sergeant, presidents have one vital role that they can play, and that is putting young people in harm's way. And so when we talk about Lima, Hello Lima community being engaged, understand the role that you play in making sure Sergeant Brooks comes back in one piece, making sure Sergeant Brooks has all the benefits that he deserves when he comes back from fighting something that nobody should ever have to go through.
Correct. Since I've been back, I've had great support from the Lima VA and the Dayton VA. But there's a lot of veterans that have been going under the cracks and things like that, and that's why the suicide rate is so high with
One of your best
veterans.
friends, didn't one of your friends in the service commit suicide?
Correct. I had already been out for maybe a month or so, and some things happened before we came back home, and just was too much, and he ended up shooting himself in the head. So things like that would definitely wake you up a little bit and say, hey, this is real. We need to get help. And
when I was talking to you, Sarge, you said something, and you're fascinating. I have to admit, I'm not only proud of you, it's just great to get to meet you. When you said people should not have to live with flight or fright every day.
Correct.
And that is the thing that makes it so hard for what the veterans come back to.
Correct.
When I have fright or flight, it may happen to me like once every 10 years. Follow me? And it is nothing compared to what you're going through. You live it every day coming back.
Correct. It's like so the audience could understand a little bit better. It's almost like when a dog come and chase you. For veterans coming back with being on alert like that, that's like a dog chasing you 24/7.
I follow you.
Eventually, that dog gonna win if you don't get help. And so that's the anxiety and things like that you have. That and a lot of veterans are very proudful. We try to do it on our own. I did. I'm guilty.
Before you reach out.
Before you reach out, and even then you feel like, oh, I'm good, and then you realize, because like I said, I had a service dog before. And I felt like, you know what, I'm good. I can do this on my own. And you have your gut moments, and then you not come back and knock you in the face and like, oh, wow, I need to continue what I was doing.
There is something I want to get across real quick, because I know we're about ready to get closed down, that currently there was a commission established in 2016, and two things they looked at: whether to allow women to be registered from 18 to 25, and the second thing is to bring back the draft. I think it's coming back. And when you bring back the draft, you're going to find out, Sergeant, what people are made of, because nobody wants to do what you guys are doing.
Correct. And that's why I give Vietnam veterans all the respect, because even though they did not want to do it, they still went and did it.
That's good to leave on. Please join Hello Lima on the Facebook page. We're going to be able to talk about Sergeant Brooks when we get up past here, too. It's going to be on Facebook Live. And remember, according to the most recent report by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, a suicide is happening in a veteran every 22 suicides a day of veterans. Can you follow me, Sarge? 22 suicides a day for veterans. So please look on the screen. We always try to post on the screen. Call that number if you or a friend are thinking about suicide. If you know somebody who's thinking about suicide, call that 1-800 number. It's vital for us to make sure that our veterans and people in general, as the Sarge said to me, just say hello. I'd like to thank you, Doctor.
Welcome.
It's always good to have you on the show. Hello Lima is going to come back with a special 1-hour show, and it's going to be very good next month in celebration of Black History Month. Have a great topic that Dr. Angel's doing a research paper. We'd like to bring it back. We're going to have Sergeant Brooks back with us also on some additional shows as we talk more about veterans and how it's important to understand this impeachment trial isn't about just kind of passing it as a commercial break. Read it, understand it, follow it, and at the end of the day, understand how it impacts Lima. Hello, Lima.
Hello Lima, brought to you by Good Food Restaurant, home of Happy Days, Beer Barrel, and Old City Prime. Also by Mercy Health Partners, 318 Restaurant and Bar, Lima Palette Company, and Fresh and Faded Hair Studio.